Welcome to Muslim Apologetics Australia. I'm going to show you now an incredible hypocrisy and inconsistency from the liberalist showgirl Ayaan Ali Hirsi, the secular think tank, in her discussion with Andrew Bolt on the Bolt report, where she actually criticized Walid Ali, saying that the Australian public made this man a celebrity, and instead of concentrating and making Walid Ali, giving him all the credit, we should elevate Sheik Tawheedi. Yes, Sheik Tawheedi should be elevated in the Australian society to speak on behalf of Muslims and non-Muslims. Well, let's see what Sheik Tawheedi has said in his report. In his report, he said that the Quran does not endorse violence, meaning that you should not beat your wife, and the Quran does not say to beat your wife. And he also said that infidels should not be killed according to the Quran. Now that's very different than what Ayaan Ali Hirsi preaches. Ayaan Ali Hirsi preaches that the Quran and Islam endorses violence. The Quran endorses to kill infidels and apostates. And the Quran endorses and kills those who are kafirs, or those who are infidels. And the Quran also endorses to beat your wife. Yes, and that's not just a tap, it means a physical, full-on beating and oppressing your wife. That's what Ayaan Ali Hirsi preaches throughout all of her panel discussions and her criticism against Islam. It is her number one argument she brings up. So then why is she then speaking contrary to Sheik Tawheedi, who preaches something completely different? Yet she asks Sheik Tawheedi to be elevated in the Australian society. Let's have a look.
Walid Ali guy has been elevated by Australian society and he's made into a celebrity, and I think what really Australia needs to do is take someone like Tawheedi and elevate him and have him sit with members of the government, members of the media, members of the academic elite, and that would send the message to the Islamists that they welcome people like Tawheedi more than Walid Ali. Walid Ali guy.
So you heard it, folks. She wants Walid Ali brought down and not given that publicity. She wants Sheik Tawheedi to be elevated, yet Sheik Tawheedi preaches that the Quran is a peaceful book and the Quran does not condone violence towards women. So let's have a look at what Sheik Tawheedi has said. Let's see the elevated person that Ayaan Ali Hirsi wants in Australia. Let's see what he says about the Quran when it comes to the verses being peaceful, right? Let's have a look.
When it comes to the verses of the Holy Quran, the Quran gives a formula, and it says that when you are subjected to war from the non-believers, and you conquer the place that they had come to take from you. So in other words, it's a form of protection. Then you let them live, you don't kill them. That verse basically says don't kill them.
But it says make them submit.
Yes, make them submit, as in not fight you. Not fight you. You take their weapons away.
And they've got to pay a special tax applying to
yes, that's
non-believers.
The problem. This is the problem. The problem is, how do they pay the tax? The Prophet Muhammad said the tax is a robe. You need to pay a robe, just a form of dress code. What the caliphs did, the fathers of ISIS today, they came to the Christians, not only the Christians, the Jews of that time, anyone, the Romans, even the Muslims who didn't want to pay tax to the Islamic government. So let's say if ISIS took over today,
Yeah.
how do we pay tax to them?
I don't want to pay tax to them as a non-believer.
So if you don't, this is what's going to happen, and this is what happened in history, Andrew. They come to you, well, God forbid, they behead the person that doesn't want to pay tax. They put his head in a pot, they cook it, they eat it, then they rape his wife the same night. And this happened to a man by the name of Malik bin Nuwaira.
Okay, so let's pause it there.
Of the Holy Quran.
Okay, so let's pause it there. As you can see, he speaks about the Islamic tradition through the Quran, and it doesn't speak of the Quran being a violent book. Did you notice? He does not say it's a violent book, and that caliphs later on came and introduced violence. So he's making a distinction between the Quran and the caliphs. So now my question to Ayaan Ali Hirsi is, the man that she wants elevated, is she going to accept this interpretation for the Australians to accept that, look, we will stay away from the caliphs, right? But we will accept the Quran is a non-violent book. Let's hear him again.
When it comes to the verses of the Holy Quran, the Quran gives a formula, and it says that when you are subjected to war from the non-believers and you conquer the place that they had come to take from you. So in other words, it's a form of protection.
So notice he's talking about the Quran, the wars in the Quran, a form of protection. It's like a defensive war if someone comes to take from you. But Ayaan Ali Hirsi doesn't believe in that version of the Quran. She believes in the version of the Quran where it isn't just a defensive jihad, it's all-out war. Yet she's calling for this man to be elevated in the Muslim community to speak on behalf of Muslims and Islam with this washed down version of the Quran. So again, is Ayaan Ali Hirsi calling for his interpretation of the Quran, that it's defensive, that it's just basically there's no killing, there's no violence, except only when it's a defensive war and someone's out to try and kill you? No, Ayaan Ali Hirsi preaches the verses of the Quran are, find them wherever you kill them, no matter who they are. The disbelievers, find them wherever you kill them, slaughter them until they accept Allah. Right? This is Ayaan Ali Hirsi's version of the Quran. So why is she now telling us that this man should be elevated in a position of authority when he's giving an interpretation of the Quran which is completely contradictory and contrary to Ayaan Ali Hirsi? Now check this blunder. Is Ayaan Ali Hirsi going to call up for the elevation of this man? This man is preaching that stoning people is only part of, stoning apostates or killing apostates was only part of the Islamic tradition at the beginning. But apparently Islamic tradition changed this. So let's have a look.
Hizb ut-Tahrir, the penalty for apostasy is death. Is that correct?
Yes, in Islam, during the first ages of Islam, the first few centuries, there were hypocrites, so-called, who came in Islam and outside to ruin the image. So they will solve this issue, and we will kill whoever does this game with us.
Do you endorse that?
Of course not. I'm against it.
But that's in the Quran.
The Holy Quran itself doesn't say kill.
What does it say?
It says advise them to come back.
Or else?
I wonder, is Ayaan Ali Hirsi going to accept this Imam's interpretation when he's saying do not kill them? The Quran doesn't say to kill the apostates. Is this what Ayaan Ali Hirsi wants, to elevate this man, which is completely contradictory to what Ayaan Ali Hirsi preaches? Let's continue.
No, if they don't want to come back, don't come back.
All right,
the Holy Quran itself
says Hizb ut-Tahrir is wrong.
Definitely wrong. The Quran itself says there's no hatred in religion whatsoever. This is.
So he says there's no hatred in religion. So doesn't Ayaan Ali Hirsi preach that the Quran is a hate book? that the Quran is a hate-filled propaganda through all of their panels. That's what Ayaan Ali Hirsi preaches. Yet this preacher says it's not a hate book.
I've seen that verse.
Yes, that's the Islam I believe in.
There's all these contradictions. Then there's the verse from.
I mean, even Andrew Bolt is looking at this guy and saying you're just full of contradictions because Ayaan Ali Hirsi is preaching something else. Yet Ayaan says, let's elevate this man.
Quran that I put to Kaiser on the show,
Yes.
right? And he got in all sorts of trouble about justifying wife beating. It's where it says in part, the good women are therefore obedient to their husbands.
Yes.
As to those on whose part you fear desertion, admonish them, leave them alone in the sleeping places, as in don't sleep with them, and beat them. Beat them?
Right. In the Holy Quran, when the Quran
Okay, let him explain himself. Notice, Ayaan Ali Hirsi preaches that the Quran says beat, meaning physically beat them. So let's see what Mr. Tawheedi preaches on the contrary.
This needs to be understood by Australia. The Quran came down to a tribe of...
But this is Kaiser Trad saying it applies now.
Kaiser Trad has lost the plot.
He's the head of the Australian Federation of Islamic
The
Councils.
Federation of Islamic Councils needs a review. All of it. They all need a review. This is wrong. The Quran says beat them. Why? Why does the Quran say that? Because they were burying them alive. So the Quran said, listen, don't kill your wife and daughter, but give her a tap on the hand. This is where people like
But that again puts the man in the
Did you see that? He said, apparently you're just supposed to tap him on the hand, right? Now, Ayaan Ali Hirsi doesn't believe in that crap interpretation, right? She'd call that crap. She'd say, no, it means a physical beating, right? So why is Ayaan Ali Hirsi telling us that this man needs to be elevated with this washed-down version of the Quran?
position that he's got to go and even symbolically tap the woman on the hand. Hey, wait a minute. That doesn't
wrong.
fit with our society
It doesn't at all, and that is wrong. I believe that if a man hits his wife, and I want Australia to hear this from me, if a man hits his wife and it turns red, if he does this to her, presses hard, it turns red, he needs to pay a fine in gold.
Well, there you go. Now, what is Ayaan Ali Hirsi saying? Is she saying that this man should be elevated because he's rejecting his own Quran? I mean, I don't understand it. This man claims that the Quran doesn't preach violence, yet Ayaan Ali Hirsi is telling us that this man should be elevated. Let's listen again.
Walid Ali Guy has been elevated by Australian society and he's made into a celebrity, and I think what really Australia needs to do is take someone like Tawheedi and elevate him and have him sit with members of the... What really Australia needs to do is take someone like Tawheedi and elevate him and have him sit with members of the government, members of the media, to a celebrity. And I think what really Australia needs to do is take someone like Tawheedi and elevate him and have him sit with members of the government, members